All right, welcome back to vSphere ICM. We're in Lab 7. This is our third video. We're covering using standard and distributed switches. In the previous video, we actually created a distributed switch. In this video, we're going to examine the distributed switch configuration, and then our next task will be to migrate virtual machines to the distributed switch port group. So let's go ahead and take a look. You can see right here, after examining the configuration of the IPDVS distributed switch uplink, we're going to be able to view that by right-clicking on the IPDVS and then, or clicking IPDVS and then going to Manage, and then you can see that we'll click on Settings, and then we'll be able to see the topology. So let's do that now. Okay, so here we are in vCenter, and I'm in the Networking tab in the Object Navigator. I have IPDVA, my distributed virtual switch, I selected. And then from there, what I'm going to do is click on the Manage tab. And under Manage, I will make sure that I have Settings selected. And then I'm going to drop down to Topology. And we can actually take a look at our new distributed switch. Notice here's our distributed switch. We know we connected two hosts to that, but it isn't really showing two connections. Okay, so we need to expand the distributed switch topology diagram to expose both of those switch connections. So right here next to uplink 1, we can see that we have two NIC adapters. So I will expand that, and so we can see the first one is to ES6i1, and our second NIC adapter is to ES6i2. Both of them are connected to our distributed switch. So when I close this, you'll notice that it shows a single port. By expanding this, we can see both the ports that are actually connected to that. And you can see on the other side that we have the IPPG production port group right over here with no virtual machines connected to that. So we'll be fixing that shortly. Let's go to the, click on the properties right over here, and let's take a little bit of the information here. So if we take a look down here, we can see a couple of important things. Besides the name IPDVA, we can also see the number of uplinks, and so currently we have one uplink. The number of ports is 10, and our MTU, maximum transmission units, 1500 bytes. So that's the largest size that a transport, not transmission, but transport unit can be. Let's take a look at a couple other things. Let's swing over here, and we're going to take a look at the IPPG production port group. Okay, so here's our distributed port group details, and we want to select Manage again and click on the Settings tab. And looking in Properties, if we take a look at the properties of that port group, we can see that at port binding we have what's called a static binding. We also, under port allocation, that the port allocation itself is elastic, and our number of ports equals 8. So that's something we saw on the previous screen. Let's go back a step, and I want to take a look at something here. So when we go back to IPDVA, you notice that under the Manage Settings, the Properties, we actually have this option to edit this. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to show you something that's kind of interesting. Remember I misnamed this and I called it IPDVA. I'm going to actually change that right now. We're going to call this IPDVS to follow the lab. Also notice that I could increase my number of uplinks. Right now I've set it to 1. We could also change the uplink names here as well. We're just going to change the name that we see here for our distributed switch, and now it updates that to say IPDVS. Now I'm going to go ahead and select the IPDVA uplinks, DV uplinks, and edit that as well. And we're going to change that to DVS, so that also matches up with the lab. And click OK on that. And so you can see that's now updated. So that little error I made, I was able to easily correct that. Okay, we're going to leave off here and come back in a moment, and we're going to take a look at migrating the virtual machines to our distributed switch port group, because right now we don't have any virtual machines on this new distributed switch. Okay, welcome back to the lab. So this is task 7, migrate the virtual machines to a distributed switch port group. So in this task, we will move VMs from the current standard switches. Remember, we have 2 standard switches, production and VM network. We're going to migrate those from the current standard switches onto the ESXi host to the port group on the distributed switch. Now, to do that, we're going to right-click our IPDVS and select Migrate VM to another network in that Object Navigator pane. You can see that right here. So let's do that now. Okay, so we're back in vCenter. So the first thing I want to do is select our distributed virtual switch. And then I'm going to right-click that and select Migrate VM to another network. All right. The Migrate Virtual Machine Networking wizard appears. On the Select Source and Destination page, for the source network, we will leave specific networks selected, and then we will click the Browse button. We're going to select the production switch or the production network from the Select Network window and click OK. So that's our source network. All virtual machine network adapters that are connected to this network will be migrated. For the destination network, we will go ahead and click on the Browse button. And then what we want to do at this point is select IPPG production port group. That's our destination. So that's our virtual machine that we will be migrating. That's our, not a virtual machine, excuse me. That is our port group that we will be migrating the VMs to, the VM ports to. So we'll go ahead and select that and click on the OK. And so you can now see that the specific network that we're migrating, the ports are from production. We're migrating those ports to the IPPG production port group. All right. Let's go ahead and click the next button. On the Select Virtual Machines to Migrate from Production to IPPG Production window, we're going to check the box for Test VM01. Now that's the only virtual machine that's actually living on that particular standard switch. So that was a standard switch we had created in a previous activity and migrated a virtual machine to. So we're selecting that one. And if you expand this, you'll notice that that network adapter is selected with that. We'll go ahead and press the next button. And then on the Ready to Complete page, we'll review the settings. So the source is the production network. The destination network is IPPG production, and that's this guy right here. So that's on our distributed switch. We have just the one virtual machine to migrate, and its network adapter will migrate with that. So we'll go ahead and click on the Finish button. All right, now that we've migrated that, we're going to make sure that we have IPDVS selected here. And then we're going to select the Related Objects tab, and then make sure that Host is selected. And we can see that ESXi1 VMEduc.com is connected, and ESXi2 VMEduc.com is selected. So both ESXi hosts are in a state of connected. And then we can click the Virtual Machines button. And we can see that our test VM01 appears in the list. All right, so you can see how easy that was to migrate the new our virtual machine and its port, associated port, to our new port group here. You can see related objects. We should see the test VM01 is displaying in the port group here, just like we could see it here as well as a related object. All right. Hey, thanks for watching the video. I hope you learned something and look forward to talking to you on another lab.